over fields of green, remembering the faces, the moments unseen, the hands that built a dynasty, the vision in their eyes, echoes in the auction ball, beneath an endless sky. This is the bullline, turn the volume high, for the icons of the ages that never will die. From the show ring thunder to the quiet strength they knew, hear their stories now, coming right on through.
Hey there, dairy folks. Welcome back to the Bullvine Podcast. I am your host, and today I've got a story that's going to blow your mind. Picture this. A conservative Republican dairy farmer who built a 650-head Holstein empire ends up hosting 500,000 hippies on his farm and accidentally changes American culture forever. But here's the kicker. His real genius wasn't in hosting rock festivals. It was in building a dairy business so sophisticated that it makes most modern operations look like amateur hour. Today, we're diving deep into the Max Yasgur story. And trust me, by the end of this episode, you're going to be questioning everything you think you know about genetic strategy, vertical integration, and crisis management. Because this guy figured out principles in the 1960s that most dairy farmers are still struggling with today. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let me tell you about the most unlikely dairy legend in American history. Let's start with August 1969. Michael Lang, one of the promoters of what would become the Woodstock Music Festival, is desperately searching for a venue. Towns are rejecting them left and right. Nobody wants a hippie festival in their backyard. Then Lang finds himself standing on a hilltop in Bethel, New York, looking down at what he later described as a perfect ellipse of meadow, a natural arena covered with ankle-deep alfalfa and timothy plants. He immediately knows this is it. This is where Woodstock needs to happen. The field belongs to Max Yasgur. When they finally meet and shake hands to seal the deal, Lang notices something that stops him cold. 2 fingers are missing from Yasgur's right hand. Holy smokes, Lang thinks to himself. This guy has built this place with his own hands. But here's what Lang didn't fully understand in that moment. He wasn't just shaking hands with a landowner. He was meeting one of Sullivan County's most successful agribusiness pioneers, a man whose dairy empire was so far ahead of its time that it would make Silicon Valley entrepreneurs jealous. Now here's where this story gets really interesting. Max Yasgur was about as far from a hippie as you could imagine. Born in 1919 to Russian immigrants in New York City, he was a conservative Republican who supported the Vietnam War. He stood 5'11", wore wire-rimmed glasses, and looked more like a college professor than a revolutionary. But Yasgur had something that's rarer than you might think in today's world: unshakable principles. When his neighbors started objecting to the festival, predicting widespread drug use, garbage everywhere, and general chaos, Yasgur did something remarkable. He stood up at the Bethel Town Board meeting and gave what I consider one of the most eloquent defenses of civil liberties ever delivered by a dairy farmer. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, "I don't particularly like the looks of some of those kids either. I don't like their lifestyle, especially the drugs and free love. But if I know my American history, tens of thousands of Americans died in wars, just so those kids would have the freedom to do exactly what they're doing. This is America, and they're going to have their festival. Talk about putting your money where your mouth is." But here's the thing, this wasn't just about principles. This was also brilliant business. 1969 had been a wet year, really wet. Yasgur's hay crop was damaged, and feeding 650 head of cattle suddenly became a very expensive proposition. When Lang and his partners first approached him, they offered $7,500 to rent a field for 3 days. But then the scope changed. What started as 10 to 15,000 people suddenly became 50,000 paying attendees, plus another 50,000 trying to get in free. 100,000 people total. Yasgur's response? "I am a businessman, and it will cost you, but I'll go to bat for you." He added another zero to their rent. $7,500 became $75,000. In 1969 money, that's equivalent to about $580,000 today. This wasn't opportunism. This was strategic asset monetization. Yasgur recognized both the scale of the opportunity and his negotiating position. As he said afterward, his cows wouldn't go hungry this year. Now, while everyone knows Yasgur for Woodstock, let me tell you about his real claim to fame, his Holstein breeding program. This guy was operating at a level of genetic sophistication that would impress breeders today. Back in 1953, Yasgur's herd included 90 daughters of Hardin Farms' King Pontiac. 90 daughters from one sire. He also owned 30 daughters of Cashman Thunderbolt, both sons of the legendary Dunloggin Dean Var line. Dr. E.S. Harrison, manager of the prestigious Hardin Farms, wrote about Yasgur. Few breeders have ever followed a more definite breeding program than has Max Yasgur. This wasn't casual praise. This was professional recognition from one of the industry's most respected authorities. While today's breeders jump between 20 different bulls annually, chasing the latest genomic indexes, Yasgur concentrated on proven bloodlines for decades. His systematic approach to Hardin Farms genetics, followed by his strategic evolution to Oakcrest Roebuck Dean, represented calculated improvement, not random experimentation. By 1970, his focus had shifted to Oakcrest Roebuck Dean daughters, and the numbers were incredible. Yasgur Roebuck Annie produced 24,023 pounds of milk with 705 pounds of fat. In the 1970s, when the average cow produced less than half that amount. But Yasgur's real genius wasn't just in genetics. It was in building what we'd now call a vertically integrated supply chain, decades before it became a business school buzzword. Think about this. Yasgur Dairy wasn't just a farm. It was a complete operation that controlled every step from pasture to doorstep. He built pasteurization plants, refrigeration complexes, bottling machines, and developed door-to-door delivery routes. 10 farms comprising 2,000 acres of land with a peak herd of 650 head, making him Sullivan County's largest milk producer. While his competitors were selling commodity milk and complaining about prices, Yasgur was capturing value at every stage. He understood something that most modern dairy farmers still haven't figured out. If you want to build real wealth, you can't just be a producer. You have to control your supply chain. Now here's the sobering part of this story. Building this empire came at a tremendous personal cost. By his late 40s, Yasgur had suffered several heart attacks. He needed an oxygen tank nearby at all times and had an oxygen tent in his bedroom. The missing fingers that caught Michael Lang's attention? Those told the story of a man who had literally built his success with his own hands. The relentless demands of running a 650-head operation across 2,000 acres had worn his body down. In December 1970, recognizing his health limitations, Yasgur sold his business to Yasgur Farms Incorporated. 19 months later, he was dead from a heart attack at age 53. His planned succession ensured business continuity, but his early death serves as a stark reminder about the personal cost of agricultural ambition. Building wealth means nothing if you don't live to enjoy it or successfully pass it on to the next generation. When Max Yasgur died, something unprecedented happened. Rolling Stone magazine, the Bible of the counterculture movement, gave him a full-page obituary. It was the first time in history that a humble dairy farmer received such recognition from that publication. Think about the irony here. A conservative Republican dairy farmer who disagreed with almost everything the counterculture stood for became their unlikely patron saint. Not because he shared their values, but because he defended their right to express those values. So what can we learn from Max Yasgur's story? Let me break it down into actionable lessons for today's operations. First, genetic concentration beats genetic confusion. While modern breeders chase every high-index bull on the market, Yasgur proved that focused genetic strategy creates lasting wealth. His surgical precision with proven bloodlines like Dunloggin and Hardin Farms created consistent excellence that many operations with advanced genomic technology still can't match. Second, vertical integration captures massive value. Yasgur's processing-to-doorstep model captured margins at every stage. Today's direct-to-consumer dairy market offers similar opportunities. Operations exploring value-added processing can increase per-gallon revenue from 18 cents commodity to 54 cents or more at retail. Third, crisis asset monetization can save your operation. Yasgur's $75,000 Woodstock payment solved his immediate cash flow problem during the hay crisis. Modern dairy farms should audit their non-core assets for revenue potential. Agritourism, renewable energy leases, event hosting, these can generate $25,000 to $100,000 or more annually in supplemental income. Fourth, scale with strategic purpose, not ego. Yasgur's 650-head operation supported his processing infrastructure. Every cow served the vertical integration model. Operations expanding without clear revenue drivers average 15% lower return on investment than strategically scaled farms with defined profit centers. And finally, succession planning prevents wealth evaporation. Yasgur's planned business transition ensured continuity despite his early death. Dairy operations without formal succession plans lose 60% of accumulated wealth during unplanned transitions. Here's the hard truth about Max Yasgur's legacy. Most modern dairy operations are more sophisticated than his, but less profitable. His combination of genetic focus, business integration, and strategic thinking created wealth that lasted, even when the man himself didn't live to enjoy it. The guy who made Woodstock possible didn't just host hippies. He demonstrated that principled business decisions, strategic genetic programs, and diversified revenue streams create wealth that endures. While Rolling Stone gave him the first full-page obituary in history for a humble dairy farmer, his real legacy lies in proving that dairy farmers who think strategically can change the world and profit while doing it. Those missing fingers that shook Michael Lang's hand told the story of a man who built success through hard work and smart decisions. In our technology-driven industry, the fundamentals of strategic breeding, intelligent business management, and principled leadership remain unchanged. The farmers who understand this, who can balance genetic patience with business innovation, who can see opportunities where others see problems, who can defend their principles while maximizing their profits, these are the farmers who will build the dairy empires of tomorrow, with or without rock festivals in their fields. That's our show for today, folks. From all of us at the Bullvine, we remind you that sometimes the best business lessons come from the most unexpected places. Keep challenging conventional wisdom, keep building for the future, and remember, your next great opportunity might just walk up your driveway on a Sunday afternoon. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in dairy.
This is the Bullvine, turn the volume high, for the icons of the ages that never will die. From the show ring thunder to the quiet strength they knew, hear their stories now, coming right on through. Oh, tell the tale, the Bullvine legends live here.